All right, we're here with my favorite band in the entire world.
Damn. Holy
Stay
shit. He's
inside
dropping
the Goo Goo
all
Dolls.
the way from Brooklyn, New York, and Delaware, and Los Angeles and North
Yeah.
Carolina.
It's
So,
Friday night.
One thing I did want to ask you guys about this record, for real, is what do you guys think separates this the new record from the stuff that you guys have done in the past? And like, was there an actual goal for that? Like
In terms of-
like was there an intention, I guess, but behind like trying to move your sound or like progress it, I guess, for this record?
Yeah, I think this one, the intention's the right word. This was just significantly more intentional than I think everything that we've done before. Viewing our first record was like, let's get some songs together. And it's hard to get songs together when you're starting out as a band.
Right.
Thank you. I think people who have done that know that. Like, it doesn't seem like a lot, 10 songs. And then most people don't make it to 10 songs ever.
Right.
So that was an accomplishment.
We didn't. It's 9 songs.
Yeah, I was gonna say this. I was like, damn, where's
No,
that hidden track at?
But I think what you're trying to say a little bit is like the record is more like a couple different people have like mentioned it as like more melodic. It's like
Yeah,
it's poppier.
100%.
It's a poppier record, and I think that wasn't intentional. Like, we are always trying to make catchy songs that have good hooks. Like, I don't really think as a rock band you should be writing stuff that isn't hooky. Like, no band, whether you're a metal band or a noise rock band, like, if it's not sticking in your head and it's not interesting melodically, like, I don't think that's a very good song. So we're always trying to make stuff that's like hooky. I think we were just more successful this time.
yeah.
But in terms of like tone, when we talked about this before, but like the intention was like we were just having more fun and like having a better time in our lives, and so there was like we were making songs that seemed fun to listen to rather than like we're really sad, because we weren't as sad, even though we had just come out of something sad, but just the time in our life was more chill.
Yeah, I'll say like that the record to me sounds like deeper, I guess would be like the way I would describe it, of where it's like it's cohesive, like song to song, and it definitely feels like almost like a cinematic experience in comparison to where like I could definitely see what you're saying of where you guys were just trying to write good songs before, but they do feel like single entities or whatever, where this feels like one like kind of peaks and valleys like journey of where.
Yeah, I was just saying someone today that the way we wrote the songs was as like one giant song file.
That makes sense.
And then my
so
computer
it was one project file that went.
Yeah.
Basically until my computer would just shut off.
Yeah, I'm
That's
sure
when we're
that
just like, okay, we gotta
layers the
start a
amount
new
of
session.
tracks. How many tracks was that file?
A laptop. Not even like
oh
a
my
desktop,
god, dude,
like
that thing must have been overheating like crazy.
Yeah.
Did it ever fail to like pull up like all the VSTs and like all the whatever extra stuff you had in there?
Oh yeah, I
Like,
wasn't
one of the
even
times you were
running
just like,
VSTs.
often.
because I've definitely had that thing of where like you put the wrong type of plug-in on one file on like a thing, especially on a laptop, and like it just crashes and like you can't open it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
That literally has happened. That's
we
so
lost
funny.
we lost probably full songs from.
So what is the writing process like for something like that? Was that intentional? Did you start writing with song 1 and then like continue like going through, or was it like maybe not synchronized as much, but like was it a linear process in that way?
No, I think that the reason why that's a cool way to write music is that like for like ADHD brain kind of stuff, you're working on one song and you just have some cool guitar sound that you're using. And you're just like, oh, that's good for this other one. And you don't have to fucking close the session down and all this stuff. You're just right there. You can just add it on there.
Do you think that because that sounds like it would really support that kind of idea of cohesiveness too, of like where you can reference back to something else that you did in another song and then kind of like use that as like almost like to influence the growing structure of this entire thing of
Definitely.
like this whole piece of art.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff on the record that is like literally pieces from other songs.
Right,
Like,
yeah. Well, and
it's-
I did notice that. I'm sure I haven't delved into the deeper details because it's only been out for like 36 hours at this point or whatever. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I've probably listened to it like 3 times. I listened to it at the gym. It works to work
yeah.
out with too, that's a positive.
How are your gains before and after?
Oh my god!
Knowing
I think
about Carried Away.
that is essentially protein in itself and creatine.
we are proteins.
But
Sorry.
aren't we all?
I mean, I support you.
I'm dead.
It's 2024. It's not 2017. We're all right.
Yeah. The scene has changed, folks. We're not who we
I
used to
support
be.
the youth, is what
The
I'm
youth,
saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, to your question, the dream band we'd like to open for is Brand New.
Yeah. Well.
Cut that.
I mean, okay. Let's get into that. Let's get into that. Like, so I mean, to me, like your guys' music does sound pretty influenced by Brand New, at least at
The first
some
record,
point. And I
for
remember
sure.
talking to you about it a little bit at the show. Like, so you guys, I'm assuming you guys get that comparison somewhat
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah, I think that when I met Bryn and Vishnu like 8 years ago, they showed me Brand New, and I like didn't know about emo then, and
That's
they
true.
showed me Your Favorite Weapon. I was like 28 years old, and I was just like, this is my personality now.
Well, like I really liked Devil and God and Daisy in high school.
Yeah.
And they're great. I think the thing about Brand New is that they're just a really good rock band. And were sort of really helpful for me to see like that there's a lot of places you can take emotional music that's not necessarily, it doesn't all have to be My Chemical Romance or Weezer, or I'm talking at the time because I'm old.
Yeah.
But like, you know, at the time it was just like they were like, well, we're going to try other things. And then they got real canceled, and you know, it's hard to listen to those records now
Yeah.
for me. Like I find it, you know, real awkward, and a lot of the lyrical content is really gross, and it's like changed in retrospect. But like, I think it's dishonest to be like, oh, I don't like that band anymore. Like I that was a very influential band for me.
It's a strange thing for me to think about, because for me it was like such an influential and important band that I really loved, and to feel so like let down
Yeah.
by someone essentially. And I think that's what you're talking about, of where it's like, well, like can you separate that art that was so meaningful and probably helped you through a lot of hard times
Yeah.
from what it like from what that person allegedly did,
and
you
not
know,
and not
like
to
that's-
get too dark about it so early on in the interview, but like, you know, like
Oh, we're going there. We're going.
for people, I think there are songs on there that for people, including myself, who like have been victims of sexual assault, like
Yeah, myself as well.
that like listen to those songs in the context that you thought they were,
Yes.
as like, oh, this like really helped me contextualize and understand things about my own life, and then to hear the truth behind them, or like what, you know, these other realities.
Yeah.
I think it's cool and fine to separate the art from the artist, but like in this case, I find it really difficult,
And it's
especially to listen to the songs that
and
were
it's one of
most
those
important
things
to me.
that you can't go back on an influence, because it's
No.
like that thing is there, and there's 3 other guys in that band who like
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like who were also like Brand New wasn't just one guy, and like they were a very, very talented and influential band, of where it's just like, so those guys are just canceled as well now,
yeah, I don't,
you know what I mean, and that's like,
you know, I don't know about them, you know, but it's just like, I feel more for the listeners. I'm sure they'll start another band or whatever. They're probably fine at
you
this
would
point,
hope,
right?
Yeah, you would hope so.
I don't know.
For you coming in as like an outsider, because I didn't realize, like, so you didn't even know who Brand New was until you were 28. So like from like a musical perspective, is it interesting? Were you like into emo music?
I didn't
prior
know it.
to
I got really into post rock in my 20s, and
Okay.
my friend Corey showed me that American Football record and a Sunny Day Real Estate record, but I thought that they were post rock and alt rock bands. I didn't know
Right.
that I was a blossoming young emo musician.
So you kind of came into it like, because most people get into like any type of emo music when they're like, you know, like for me, I was
High
like
school.
13, 14, 15, 16. So it's like, but you're also coming at it from like those bands, especially, you know, a few years ago, were not like American football was not what American football is now, of where it's almost
Right.
like people have gone from being like, emo's like Fall Out Boy and My Chemical Romance to being like, no, emo is American football.
It's
like,
funny when
obviously.
I was in high school, emo was like, ooh, Sunny Day Real Estate, Texas the Reason, Promise Ring,
Right.
and then like I remember. Do you remember the emo game?
Yes. Yes.
Like-
Like the literally the worst thing ever. That thing is not aged well.
No, it wasn't good at the time, but it was. It introduced me to a lot of music
Right.
that I didn't know about, like Sunny Day
Yeah.
Real Estate,
Yeah.
and like
Absolutely. For sure.
making fun of Dashboard a lot. But I was a big fan of Further Scenes Forever.
Sure.
So like that argument of like, is this emo or is it not? Among those bands was what I thought emo was. And then when My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy started coming out, I'm like, this isn't even the same conversation.
right.
And it's interesting how when I say I was into emo, like I'm talking about Brand New or Bright Eyes.
yeah.
Like I'm talking about Desaparecidos and Cursive and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not even really what people mean anymore. So it's like, I don't even know if I ever was into emo, what people mean now.
Here's one thing that I've been thinking about lately is like, is emo really even a genre?
Yeah.
Or is
No, not really.
Is it just a culture? Because like to me, it's like literally just the people who weren't. It's almost like emo is like
It's like punk, right?
there's
Like,
no real musical factor that's tying it together. Like, cause punk, like there's definitely a sound there where it's like power chords, fast drums.
that's true.
Like yellier vocals. Whereas emo, like the range is from like American football all the way over to like, you know, some people don't acknowledge My Chemical Romance as an emo band. The only reason
But
I think of them as
what people mean
I-
now.
I think of My Chemical Romance as an emo band just because they capitalized off of that audience so much. So it's like, all right, so
Absolutely.
what else are those people listening to that listen to My Chemical Romance? Because
Right,
I
'cause
guarantee it's not Charlie XCX.
Also, when I was young, scene was different. Like
Yeah.
if you were a scene kid, that was different from being an emo
That's
kid.
true.
And now there is not a difference.
No.
So if you're listening to like metalcore, no one really is at this point. That it's like it's not really much.
My
of a
thing
scene,
that
but, like,
it's
I
like-
don't know. It's
it's
kind of
like a
I think
discussion.
a lot of people are listening to metalcore.
well,
Well,
like,
yeah,
I
there's
guess people
definitely a
like
lot of
Chelsea
people
Grin
listening
now.
to-
Still, I don't know. I really don't know anything about it.
But it is weird because like there's just such a wide range between the sides, like because you could basically be like you were saying, like almost like a post rock indie band, but you're still like within like the emo touring community, or you could be
yeah.
like, you know, like I would honestly say like even like Arcadia Gray and you guys are pretty not necessarily opposite bands, but your sounds are much different.
We
you know
hardly
what I
sound
mean?
like each other. Yeah.
You know, like they have more, they lean a little bit more punk, and you guys do lean a little bit more post rock. Right. You know, like more, like I would say for me, your band is super vibey,
Thanks.
like you're more, I guess I should say, vibe focused. Like with your music, like there's more instrumental jam type things, where there's this like straight angst, like just like, you know what I mean, like cutting through. So
I think a lot of that feels like an age thing. Like when you guys are talking about emo, I think I got into it at a different time. But when I think of emo now, and I'm sure a lot of kids who grew up with Midwest emo in high school,
Yeah.
and that was what was cool. I think it can be defined by instrumentation. You know, it's open guitar tunings, it's Telecasters, it's noodling. You know what I mean? It's like certain drum. There's all of these like
style.
Exactly, totally. And I think it's like it has changed, has shifted in that you ask the mass populace. You know, it depends on what swath of humanity you're asking.
Well, and like how deep are you willing to go to find that out too, right? You know, because I mean,
people are willing to go deep.
for sure they are. There's like a certain and like you know, it's like it's funny with emo music because like we all obviously love it and we're so deep in it, but like in the grand scheme of music listeners, like emo is such a small genre, like, and it's cool because it's getting bigger and bigger every year, especially internationally. Like you see the stuff that they're doing in like Japan and the Philippines and like and different countries in South America and stuff.
It's been interesting because I feel like there's a part of me that has wanted to eschew the emo label, not because I think it's uncool, but because I feel like it's dishonest. Like I feel a little bit like a poser being like, listen to my emo record, and then people hearing Fade Away and being like, this sounds like XYZ or whatever, and I'm like, well, maybe we're not emo, but then it's like maybe it's whatever. Like, is that Rap Boys record that came out last year produced by Chris Walla, like, is that an emo record?
Yeah,
because it's like I kind of feel like it is, and I love it, and I wasn't mad to be like, this isn't really emo, but like I like it. I don't know, it's like you can, if that's what it is, I'm into it. I don't know.
All right, so like you're defining genres. Why do they define genres? You have a music store and you wanted someone who bought this album to buy this other album, and they're literally close to it in proximity. It is literally just like a sorting algorithm.
Sure.
That's all
It's
it
a
is. And I
marketing
think
term.
that's all it is now, is like you're going to be talking about genre based on like, is this person going to like the next thing? And
it's interesting though, because it just seems like as there's more access to music being given, like Spotify and stuff, like or just streaming services, YouTube, whatever, like that every genre is getting so much more niche, of where it's like not only is emo like some like a subgenre in itself, but then like there's every subgenre of emo where it's now getting it's like weedmo is the thing, like mom jeans
Memo?
and shit.
Memo. That's what I made up.
Tweemo? Would that Tweemo would be like twee Tumblr type shit, but with like,
that's what we are. We're Tweemo.
I could see that. I could see that. I could see you guys have being former stylish New York Tumblr kids.
Not really.
I feel like we're like Benjamin buttoning our way through like old guy post-hardcore into this some sort of made-up new genre.
Yeah, exactly.
I could see that though. Well, because like I think you said you guys were like art. You call it like. Said you were art rock almost earlier.
Yeah, but we don't want to sound like fucking assholes about it.
I know. Well,
people call us that.
Our
and
shit
I
is
think
just
it's
like
reasonable.
It rocks a little harder than yours, and it's a little bit more, arty. It's like there's more art.
We're all
I
really
get
smart.
It's so weird because it's like, I don't know. I like a lot of bands, like I said, mention Cursive. Like everyone is like, yeah, they're kind of more art rock, but then you can't call yourself art rock. It's just not allowed.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
but they got a cello. So like,
they got a cello. We got a cello. We got a trumpet.
That's true. I did want to, because like that's such a major theme on the record, is like the kind of recurring trumpet sections of where it's like we're gonna like was that something that you guys had always wanted to feature like heavily on this record from the get-go? Was that just a talent that somebody had?
Mouth trumpeting was a talent that
Johns has.
No, yeah, they were just we were writing, and that just kept happening. There was a part in my head, and I would just.
It absolutely was not something that we were like, you know what we should do for the album too? We should get a trumpet. It was just
anyone who's ever had that way of thinking, it's been horrible. So I'm glad.
That's true. Like you can try and force those types of things in the song, but it's almost like a motif throughout the album in certain, because it almost comes in like every like 3 songs like on the record. I feel like
I think it's every song.
Is it?
Yeah, but
is it
less and more. Yeah.
I guess I should say the featured trumpet part,
For
where
sure.
it's like it's really it's almost like as the main vocal melody.
Well, a
Yeah.
big
a few
part of
times,
that was that we met Matt Hull, who played most of the trumpet on that album, halfway through making the album.
Yeah.
So we.
Well, that's the
And
thing.
we're like,
is
we
that
gotta make use
we
of
had
them.
a
We already
couple
spent money.
songs that really needed it.
Yeah.
And we were trying to find a trumpet player who could do it.
And you
'cause-
guys knew it had to be trumpet. It
Yeah,
had to
we
be
kind of
like
landed
this.
on like, okay, this is what it's supposed to be. Me and John's are really big jazz people,
Mm-hmm.
and we were like, we don't want it to sound like, no offense to any ska fans, but like we didn't want it to sound like a ska record or like a marching band brass. We wanted it to sound jazzy, you know?
Yeah.
And so we were having trouble finding a player who was like, not too much trouble, but we finally landed on Matt, and he was just so fucking talented that it was just like, what would you play here? We kept just being like, we'd get him in the studio and be like, hey, what would you play right here? And then he would just like write the perfect line, and we'd be like, okay, well, we'll leave that. Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
So it's
was
kind of
it-
on every
Was it more
song now.
melody based or was it more like dynamic based? Like in terms of like his playing style.
At the beginning, it was more dynamic, the way I was writing
Yeah.
it, and then when Matt came in, it became more melodic.
Because that's the thing, like with like programming brass too, is like that it doesn't have
can't
that
do it.
dynamic at all. Like you can get the melody out there, but it sounds so like you said, like marching bandish, almost like
Right.
too ska-y or brassy or whatever.
I tried to play the parts originally. I play clarinet, and I tried to play them on clarinet. It sounded so dumb. I can't even tell you how bad it was.
The clarinet that is on the record, though, sounds
Release the clarinet cut.
good. The last song on the record has him playing clarinet, and I think it's great.
Thanks.
But yeah, it was just
More Clary.
That's when did trumpet become a thing, like on the album? Was it just like one song it came in and then it was like we need that on more?
I think by the time we went in the studio, we had 4 songs, and maybe 3 of them had a trumpet on it, and we were just like, oh, I guess we got to figure this out.
Because we talked about it, and we were like, do we need to hire a brass player, or can we like transfer this into piano, or maybe do it with some other instrument?
Right.
Can this be a guitar part? And we kind of landed on no. It has to be some sort of brass.
Who'd you guys do the record with?
Brian
D'Amelio.
D'Amelio. Yeah.
D'Amelio.
He did the latest Proper EP, and he did the first Bartees Strange album, and he's been a really good friend of ours for a long time. He
Since
worked
Bartees
on
was in the band.
Right. He worked on our first EP 6
Wait,
years
Bartees
ago.
Strange was in Stay Inside?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know.
He was
Yeah,
a-
moons ago.
He was when we first started the band. He was the sort of the lead singer.
Really?
And he for 2 years. And
That's crazy.
He left in 2018.
That's wild. What was that journey like? Well, I mean, because it's like, he's famous now.
Yeah, he was.
you know?
He was just really doing he had his fingers in a lot of pies, and he was like, this is my rock project, and this is my folk project, and this is.
And your guys were you guys like, this guy is like too incredible to let go of, basically, but like also there's no commitment here.
It wasn't like that. It was like we were a band, and then he kind of started really focusing on his solo stuff, and kind of was just like, I think I gotta focus on this more. And we were like, cool, man. Like, he was our really good friend, and we still talk to him sometimes.
Really?
So it's like, he's just busy now, but it's like he just went and did something really cool. So
Yeah, that's
was
wild.
great.
I didn't even know that.
Mm-hmm.
Are there recordings with?
Yeah, the first EP we have, The Sea Engulfs Us, is on wherever's streaming. That's got
Yeah.
Bartees on it, and then we've got old demos in an old EP that like we recorded.
and our
Yeah.
split with Good Looking Friends has him on it as well.
That's crazy. So, was that like? How did the band even start?
So I put a Craigslist post up saying that I wanted to start a band that was somewhere between, I think, MF Doom and At the Drive-In.
Okay.
Which didn't make any
Yeah.
sense. I was
That does
just
not
like
make- that
very
makes zero
open-minded, and
sense,
Bartees wrote me back, and he's just like, exactly.
And now you can
And then-
imagine that.
Yeah, and then we kind of did that, and we had like our first songs were very like rap R&B, And I had like a side rap project going on, and
crazy.
So then Vishnu joined the band, and he was just like, "No, we're gonna do rock music." And we were like, "Okay."
Well, I worked at the same company as Bartees.
Yeah.
And so me and Bartees were hanging out, just like playing ping pong, and me and Vishnu also worked there. So it was me and Vishnu and Bartees all worked at the same company. And so one day, Bartees like came and was just like, "Do you want to be in a band? I know you play bass, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so he was like, "You want to come like play with us?" And so it's like I just like showed up to Chris Johns' house and tried out, I guess. And then like
mostly we just talked about Jesus and Miro. I
that's
think.
right, yeah. We were big Bodega Boys fans at the time.
That's wild. And was it just like an immediate kind of like, yeah, I guess we all want to do this kind of thing, or did
Yeah,
you guys
everyone
kind
was-
of grow into that?
Well, I think it was like I have always been in some sort of musical project,
Right.
and I had just gotten out of being in a pretty bad place in my life, and I didn't really have one. Like I had
Yeah.
a sort of really specific. I was like, I'd like to do something where I make music that people like, and it seemed
Yeah.
like let's do a rock music emo style project. It was kind of with like some hip hop in it too. We were all big hip hop fans, so it was like, I don't know, it just seemed like a really fun thing, and Bartees was really cool, and I liked to hang out with him, and Johns and Vishnu seemed cool, so it was just like we just started practicing. I think one of the things was that it was just like Johns and Bartees were just really motivated, and they were just like, let's actually be a band, let's actually play shows, let's actually get stuff done, and it sort of just like, get on this train or don't. And I was
Yeah.
just like, I'm in, and the train never stopped going, so it was sort of just easy for me.
And that kind of like goes to like what you were saying is like you kind of just are one of those people who had that mindset of like, I'm going to grind until I can make things happen, at least to a
Yeah,
certain extent.
Bryn and I were talking about this the other day. I mean, I feel like it's honestly just become like more of like, it's like a habit or an addiction or something, and you just kind of, you have to do it. I mean, Bryn always talks about this. She's just like, I just play music. I'm always just going to play music.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's the case for me, but for now, it's like all I.
Yeah, you mentioned hitting like a certain age and then being like, I'm done with music, and like you've got like some type of timeline.
When I
like,
turn
wildly in your
45,
head.
I'm selling literally every piece of music gear that I have. I'm never listening to music anymore. I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world. It's just going to be.
Why is that though? Where does that come from?
I think what I really like is the fun of the grind and hanging out with my friends and like doing this cool thing, and people appreciate it, and you get to play the shows. And I feel like when you're 45, you got to be really popping. So maybe
Yeah.
we'll be really popping. That's very rare in our genre.
Right.
And I just kind of want to always be like enjoying my life in the way that I.
So you're
enjoying it.
just kind of like, I'll be ready to retire that from my personality in terms of like time consumption, because for
Exactly.
you it almost sounds like maybe you have to be like 100% in or not in at all.
Exactly. That's the 100% it.
That makes sense. I can understand that too, because it really does take so much out of you to be committed to something that's not going to necessarily earn you a living, or there's no guarantee, I should say, of it earning you a living.
Right.
You know,
And
like,
we were talking about this before this started in New York. If you want to move to New York City, like,
Yeah.
a lot of the times you either have to just be like some rich person with a rich family, or you have to work fucking 10-hour days. And like, then that's how you pay rent. Or, you literally, in other places you can work a part-time job and whatever, my apartment's shitty, but like I pay my rent and I can eat. You literally just can't do that here.
yeah, you're gonna have to put 100% of the time in.
I mean, I grew up really poor. I don't have parents that gave me any money,
Yeah.
like ever. So, when I moved here, it was like, I will live on a mattress in a concrete floor, and I'll live in illegal places and pay $500 rent with 3 roommates, and it was like, you kind of have to be down for that for a long time. And I've been homeless in New York. I've been couch surfing in New York.
Yeah.
I've had to, you kind of have to grind real hard, and probably I should have left, but I'm like, you have to be kind of psychotically in love with New York and want to be here. So I understand why people leave and people don't want to live here.
Yeah.
but for whatever reason, I gotta stay. So, it's one of those things. Same with music. It's just like, I'm gonna be in a band. I don't really have control over it. I'm gonna make some kind of music. So might as well have fun with it.
Yeah, for me, I feel like I just need that. Like, I need to constantly be creating something. And I don't necessarily know if it would always have to be music. Like, I think that there's other things that I could be, even like social media to a certain extent. Like, there's editing and filming, and like there's like some amount of creativity in that. But like,
what's the next thing that you would influence?
That I would influence?
Yeah.
Like, if I wasn't influencing in music? Oh, man.
What's your big influence?
I would really like to get into pump and dump stocks.
I'm trying to get into scams.
Really monetize this shit.
I really want to get into scams, pyramid schemes, anything like that.
I've been involved in the emo scene for years now. I know a lot about pyramid schemes.
It is just like this.
You think you could bring like 3 friends to this show?
If they're friends, bring 3 friends.
Look, I've got it all
and
mapped
those
out.
3 friends bring 3 other friends.
They're doing a drawing for a blender. I mean, it does.
Gonna be so cool.
I mean, we are kind of like all psychopaths, right? For doing this, though, like of this, like, hey, you want to listen to some niche genre music? That's like probably like it's going to mean everything to like a couple thousand people.
Yeah, that's what's crazy to me when we were talking earlier about like the kind of cafeteria atmosphere and the popularity contest of music. It's just like, y'all picked a weird genre to be doing that in. Like,
yeah,
you could have been doing that in something
true.
people like.
It's so true though, because it's like yeah, like there is this like cool kids club. You gotta act this certain type of way in a music that's all about like wearing your heart on your sleeve and just like trying to express yourself completely emotionally, and then people can get all caught up on like, well, that's cool or that's not cool, where it's just like none of us are fucking cool. There's nothing about this is cool.
That's what I mean. Like when I was saying like, I don't know if we're emo or whatever, it's like I was into emo because it felt so open. Like it was the artistic rock. When I was, it's like you could be Bright Eyes, you could be Dashboard, you could be at the drive-in. It was all emo, and it was like cool. So you can do anything, and it's as long as it's fun and emotional and like intense. That's emo. And to me, like as long as it's that is what the kind of music I make is. Like I'm always trying to do new stuff and invoke weird emotions and like try stuff that you haven't really heard before. But it became, and you know what? I was just reading Ian Cohen's retrospective on Home.
He's great.
Home is where he is. Shout out Ian.
Yeah,
Home is where Home like no place is there.
Yeah.
The Hotelier record,
Right.
And he was saying like that record and like a couple other records around that time kind of changed things, where it wasn't anymore like do whatever emotional stuff you can. It was like, yes, but you could also become insanely popular. And it's like, I think now that there's this thing where it's like, oh, but you could also become like a household name, kind of made it bad. Where it's like, it's not a niche genre, or it is mostly, but like you were saying, you have to act this way. And like, there's all these like weird policings of that. And I just like, I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't.
It's not Hotelier's
like,
fault.
well, and like I've it is that weird thing of where it's like most popular emo bands start out as like a pretty shitty but good, emo band. Well, we all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's so shitty, it's so good. it's like this weird thing of where it's like just the recording can sound like shit, the singer cannot stay on key, but something about it is just there's like a purity in it, right?
Yeah.
And like almost every great band either transitions into like they just progressively become more pop and more mainstream oriented as they get more success, and then the emo community will turn their fucking back on that band so hard and be like, well, it's not like a good band that I think about like that is Mom Jeans, who is like definitely like they were they were popular, and like they kind of had this like watershed TikTok moment almost, and then like they just released this like indie rock version. It's like they're a bunch of their old songs, but it's like indie rock versions of those songs. And I
Wait, what? Like they changed
Like-
the arrangements?
yeah, the arrangements are different, and like the melody, it's kind of like singing the melodies quieter and like more chilled out versions of the
Okay.
songs.
That sounds interesting.
And like a lot of
Why would you do the same songs?
I think that this is one of those things that like the greater emo community hasn't quite caught on yet too, but it's like Taylor Swift re-recording all of her albums to get out of that contract, because that one guy owns all like the album rights, but he doesn't own the song rights, right?
Dr.
So
Luke.
like so she just went in and re-recorded all the albums and told her fans to stream them. Those are now the main versions of those songs like on streaming that are popular. And I think for them it's just about, we can get more streaming, we can get more content out of if we do this, plus if we do it in this different kind of, I don't want to say like cringy, like I wouldn't consider Mom Jeans to be cringy, but a lot of people would consider Mom Jeans to
Do
be
you like it?
their new record, or like Mom Jeans in
This
general?
project?
I don't think it's bad. Like it's well, it's like
It's
one
like
of those,
when Beastie Boys came out with that jazz album, and everyone was just like, "This is really cool. I'm not going to listen to this again." But,
Yeah.
like, they're fucking
It-
good.
I do like that is one of those things
Andre
where it's like,
3000's flute album?
I can listen to pretty much anything and like be like, oh, okay, like I see where they're coming with this. Like, does it resonate with me? No, not necessarily.
Sure.
But I don't think it's bad. But it's almost like a betrayal to a lot of people when
people
a
are mad
band
about it.
changes their sound or tries to like expand or do something different, and it is like that weird thing of where it's like we're in this nonconformist genre where every like 5 years everybody wants you to conform to the thing that's happening, and like that's the most inauthentic thing that you could do is start a band to sound like another band, I think.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what we were saying about the trumpet, right? If you come into writing music with this mentality of like, we're going to do
We're
something
gonna
like
force
this,
that in there.
We're going to
end
ska
up-
now.
right? Well, you end up like We Did It, the Ja Rule Metallica Swiss Beats song,
That
which,
famous song that everyone
Right.
knows.
Right? Do you know this song?
I've never heard
Oh my god. Okay, so there's a whole like short video on YouTube about them recording this thing, but essentially Swiss Beats is making this like mixtape or something, and they end up going to Metallica's studio, and Metallica isn't there at first, but they talk to their I don't know who's in Metallica. I don't fuck that band.
It's like a label thing where they were like, we have these songs, you could do a collab with Metallica. So they just give them like these like demos, and then Swiss Beats like cuts it up.
One of
and-
them's literally in 3/4 and the other's in 4/4, I think.
Really?
They're
in
different
different
keys.
tempos.
It's completely different songs. It's just one of the most jarringly difficult to listen to song. Like it sounds like John Zorn or something. It's like really fucking tough. But it like they meant it to be like this fun, like jock jam song to like play. it.
oh, like a pump up type song.
Yeah, like the
Rap
lyrics
rock.
are, "Yeah, we did it."
Yeah, rap rock was in a weird place because that was closer to the early 2000s. When you think of rap
Yeah.
rock, you were thinking like Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock at the time. So they're in the studio talking about, they're like, we're going to change music. They're literally saying this stuff like, and I don't know how much coke they're on, but like, or none, or they're just like, I don't know. But it
Turns out they did not. They
Right.
did not change it.
It's
well,
one
they
of-
did, but for the worse.
But
It's
that's
one
like
of the
writing-
most hilarious songs I've ever heard. It's so funny. We sing it every time we do something.
yeah, we did it.
Just when you thought it was over. It's very fun. You should check it out.
I mean, it sounds like it. You know what's weird for me is like that Metallica gets nominated for a fucking Grammy
Every
year. Literally every year. I'm pretty sure they were nominated for a Grammy this year. I think they might have won Best Metal Album.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what I was thinking about is like, all right, so the first band to ever win a Grammy for Best Metal Album of the Year was Living Color. They had that song.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a all African American metal group, and it was like in the 80s, right? I can't think of what their hit was, but they have a hit that you guys would know. That's silly, but my point is that like they used to nominate new artists for new genres.
Mm-hmm.
And they just stopped doing that. It's like it's always
Cult
like
of personality.
Cult of
Cult of
personality. Yeah, that's that song, right? So that's the first winner of a metal album, right? And like ever since, like I want to say like 2003, it's like alternative rock album is gonna be like the Foo Fighters or Queens of the Stone Age. And like probably like either a random like somebody from Led Zeppelin or somebody from Pink Floyd
Steve
or something.
Miller
like,
Band.
Sting came out with a new album, so I guess that's like,
right.
and
Sting
it's
did a collaboration
yes.
with St. Vincent.
Oh
right?
my god. Yes, which I mean maybe I would listen to that, but St. Vincent's pretty cool. But like it is this weird thing of where it's like. It's interesting that like there is no grander recognition. Like I was honestly like I thought it was cool as an independent artist that you guys got that Stereo Gum like nice feature there the other day.
Thank you. Thanks,
But
Stereo
that
Gum.
seems like a like almost like a hard thing to get like a mainstream because like Stereo Gum's like a legitimate big website and it seems like it's almost the barrier between being a DIY emo band specifically and getting up to like mainstream publication and coverage status is like there's
wow.
such like a long like gap between that and like so I guess what I was kind of getting at here is like with your guys like PR stuff like how much were you guys able to get through like to be able to push this and like are you guys doing your own PR and like all of your own marketing and stuff for this record?
We don't have management. We don't have distribution. We don't have a label. We do have Jamie Coletta helping us with PR, and she's been really great. And that is great because I am packaging too many
Jamie
boxes to send more emails, and that's a really big help.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yes, no, we hired her because we are not like you and suck at TikTok. And like
I think with you guys it's not necessarily that you suck or are bad at social media. I think it's just about do you have enough time to invest in
exactly.
it? You know
no,
what I mean?
100%.
Like
it takes you have to think about it all day and be recording different types of little skits and being like,
right.
listen to our record because you know I find it just like I have a full-time job that you're seeing some of here and like I have this band and I have 2 or 3 podcasts that I do. I have a very full life and it's just like it was like we don't have the time to do this the way it needs to be done. So
right.
that was like you said, we kind of are doing it all on our own except Jamie is helping us with incredibly with that.
And I think to a certain extent, I always cite the same thing. It was like a Reddit AMA with Terry Crews, the actor. And I've probably like told the story so many times it's like not even real anymore. But
he dreamt it.
I dreamt this AMA with Terry Crews. I had this dream.
Maybe you're just inner Terry Crews was letting you know.
My inner Terry Crews.
And he was doing
we all
the
have
peck
a little
pop
inner
thing.
Terry
Someone
Crews.
was just like, Terry, how are you so jacked, man? And he was just like, I hate going to the gym, and when I go to the gym, I just think, do I hate that thing? Do I? What will I like? What will I like doing? Like, and I just don't do stuff that I hate, and then it builds up this like really appreciation for it, and you have a better relationship with this act.
Yeah.
Right? So I really feel like that's the case with music. Like, you can grind super hard if you don't do shit that you hate. But I talk to people all the time who play music who I really think like hate music. Like, they don't like it. They're doing for some other reason. I watch them do this. I'm just like, you're gonna be really mad at yourself in you know, in whatever year. Like, at least I know that like I'm having a great time.
Do you mean like from like the PR aspect, like that
Yeah.
they hate it, or just like the grind of playing shows and like doing
any piece of it, whether it's like literally writing music or writing lyrics or doing PR or doing the touring thing or schmoozing, which you have to do a lot of, like all of this stuff. There's so many facets of it. Making TikTok videos, making fucking art for it, like.
No one talks about how much schmoozing you have to do.
I know you have to do so much schmoozing. I mean,
Well, it's a really distasteful thing to talk about because it's like I really like talking to people. I don't feel like I'm schmoozing. Like, I just enjoy talking to people and like meeting new people because is my favorite thing. Like, I love meeting new people. A big reason why I even do band stuff is so I can like meet people and like have more friends and stuff. But it's like, then there's all these like power things, and it's like, well, I just want to be nice. But yeah, I mean, it can be exhausting. And like, I am good at meeting new people and talking to people and being nice. And like, not everybody in my band is, you know, like and not everybody wants to do that. And not everyone who plays music is nice or outgoing or whatever. And that can be a huge barrier too, especially if you're really talented, but like are afraid to talk to people. So yeah, I think what you're trying to say is do what you're good at and don't try to break your back over things that you aren't good at, and just get help when you aren't good at them.
Yes.
Well, and maybe try and find the enjoyment in the process of just doing it instead of looking towards the outcome or the result as what you're looking for. Because it sounds like almost like what you're talking about is like people who are looking for something else from music instead of getting like the enjoyment and passion from it. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? Like,
Yes.
Well, I always say, if you wanted to do something and you're not doing it, you actually would rather have done it. Like, it's not that you enjoy doing it, you just wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But that's not the same. Like, those aren't the same things. And it's not saying don't do it, but like recognize within yourself that like if you're not already writing the book, maybe you're just like having a fun fantasy of being a writer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
And sometimes you just have to like know what's actually fun about the thing that you're enjoying and not worry too much about how it looks or how much respect you might get or how cool you'd be if you did do that.
Yeah, well, and it's almost like that you're right, that people are looking at like, it's almost like they want to have a big Wikipedia page or something like that. You know what I mean? Of like, I was in Brooklyn, you know, I was playing shows, I was there.
I think that's the whole
the
like,
Losing My Edge song.
I complain. I feel so bad for like, you know, for myself and everyone else involved in this, but just like how this when we started this band wasn't that long ago. Everything wasn't like devolved into fucking numbers. Like, you're on Instagram, it's the number of followers. You post something, it's the number of likes. You listen to something. You're a 16-year-old kid and you find a new band and you click on them. You're like, wow, I really like this band. How many streams do they have? Can you fucking imagine how horrible that is? I used to buy the CD and you have an intimate relationship with the album art and the fucking 10 tracks on the CD that you put in your car. And like, dude, I just wish we could just hide all of these numbers for everyone. It's just so sad.
Well, and like that is like, you know, I was talking about releasing my album and how we're thinking about doing it as singles, but there's something really valid to what you're saying there of where it's almost like do you treat music like art or is it marketing? Because like I've been seeing like a lot of like influencer type people, especially like influencer type musicians, be like, well, you should be like thinking of a piece of content and then write a song around that piece of content. So like you're thinking of a video idea,
that's a jingle.
Then you write
that's a commercial jingle.
That's absolutely what it is.
I'm loving it.
You know,
that fucking rips though.
Yeah,
Justin Timberlake can push it
Pharrell,
too.
It for sure has staying power. That's for damn sure.
So what do you like about the journey?
The journey?
The band journey.
Yeah, because Bryn, you know, in an uneloquent way of saying what Bryn said is that life's about the journey, not the destination.
Right. Well, yeah, and you gotta find
That's what I said.
You're never gonna have any type of happiness in anything if you're always looking at the next thing as the thing that's gonna make you happy, right? So
exactly.
You might as well enjoy where you are and where like, and that doesn't necessarily mean like you should always be looking towards a goal that you're working towards, but there's no point in trying to find validation from an accomplishment because you're never going to get that. Even the people who make the most money in the world are always striving for the next thing. Like I'm pretty sure Jeff Bezos is fucking building a clock in Texas that's not going to ever like stop working or something like that. And he spent like fucking $400 million on some bullshit. down there while we have people starving in America. God damn it!
This country's built on slavery.
Well, there's facts there.
You don't have to put that in if you don't want to, but it's true.
Oh no, I mean, this is all going.
This is live.
The brand new. Yeah, we're actually
live.
on TikTok right now. But it is true, and like I think that's one of those things that really comes with age of like understanding that it's like, especially if you're like into emo music, because you're obviously like emotionally, I don't want to say fragile, but
you're in tune with your emotions.
yeah. Well, and like I think most people who are into emo music are probably emotionally fragile at the beginning,
Sure.
and then but there's a healing aspect to the music that's very therapeutic, and like just I think a big part about emo music is just realizing that you're not alone in the world, and like that somewhere out there, wherever they are, there's some guy who's singing exactly how you feel in this moment right now. And I think like more than a genre or more than anything like that, that's what emo music is like that. It's just about true raw connection, and it's like about like having your heart on your sleeve in that way. But to bring it back full circle of where it's like you can't stay in this idealism of like, I don't want to say idealism, but like in this idea of trying to get to a certain place of where then that's where happiness will be. You know
Sure,
what I mean?
exactly.
You do, especially, and like I think once you start, especially as millennials and stuff, like you start getting into the idea of like the hand that we were dealt. Like, so I graduated in 2008, right? So like the first year of the recession.
Wait, high school or college?
High school.
Okay.
And like so coming into the job market for that was just like, oh yeah, you're fucked. And there was like, you know, a certain amount of like defeatism like in that. And I think that that's really reflected in like a lot of that early, like that late 2000s, early Tumblr emo era Glockamora Title Fight and like those types of bands things. But like it does seem as we're all kind of hitting our 30s that we're more and more people that I talk to, especially musicians, are starting to find like you just gotta love making the art and the expression and what that gives to you less than what you're getting from it, if that makes sense. Like,
yes,
like in what you're putting out there.
Right. I mean,
that's my little rant. Sorry.
No, totally. I mean, I think that there is something to like. I said this to Ian, but like I think that there's a certain level of like dishonesty you'd have to say that like anybody who's in a band is dreaming a little big, you know, like everybody has their internal fantasies of like, you know, a lot of people enjoying your music. I just don't think that should be your focus. Like it shouldn't be like something like when we started the record, one of the things was the band Stay Inside. Like when we started Stay Inside, I really liked that people were like, let's do this for real. You know, like I said before, like let's actually write songs and go to shows and make records and put some time and effort into this, building something cool. I think taking something seriously and trying to make something and reach people with it isn't bad. It's just that, like, I think when you are only doing that for clicks, for plays, for sales or whatever, then it just becomes dishonest and unfun, and you're not going to be happy. Not only do I think you'll be unhappy, it's just not worth doing.
Well, and for sure, and like that kind of genuineness, like I think really resonates with the audience that it's meant to reach. Like that's kind of like what I was saying. It's like, you know, it's like it's not the biggest audience or definitely like the most popular genre of music, but it is getting more popular for a reason, because it means everything to the people that it means something to. Like, and there really isn't much of an in between. Like if you're a Stay Inside fan, you know, like you're there for Stay Inside, you know what I mean? Like, and that it's going to mean something.
Yeah. Know? And I mean, I think that we're just living, I think kids are being born into a time that is so alienating and so desperately.
That's a really good point.
So like extremely mediated by marketplaces. Like literally no aspect of like childhood right now isn't sort of like monetized. Like on YouTube, on Fortnite, on Roblox, on
Yeah.
like every single thing you interact with as a child, you understand it as a part of like a system of taking money from you. And I think there's a really strong reaction and a necessary and appropriate reaction from people who are young and being like, I need to get away from. I'm really going to be surprised if within the next 5 years there isn't like a completely anti-internet movement like in bigger cities where you can have an anti-internet movement. Like I think there's going to start being shows that aren't posted online like as a ethos. Like I've seen posters in Bushwick that are like, at this place, ask this person or whatever, and like they don't have an address and like they don't really have an online presence. And I think people are just like getting tired of like constantly being affronted with that. So I think it's important to be really honest and genuine in that way as well.
That's really a fascinating idea too, of like, of where it's like fighting against like digital connection for the sake of a physical
real
like,
connection.
right? And it almost does kind of make me wonder, because this is just kind of like a thought that I haven't had before, is like, is the emo audience slowly growing? Because for me, like local shows just have been like, it's like night and day in the Midwest, or at least just like literally any genre of show I've gone to, whether it's been a hardcore show or a metal show or a singer-songwriter type show or an emo show, has been pretty much packed. You know, I work at Red Rocks.
Like post 2020, you're saying?
Yeah, post 2020, post COVID, and like almost, I would say 85% of Red Rock shows were sold out, and it's like 9,400, and like tickets are expensive there. It's like usually minimum is like $200 a ticket. But like, I guess what I was getting at is like, I wonder if, in the vein that you're saying of like this kind of like, especially in post-COVID, because like I've suspected this about post-COVID shows, because people took for granted, like I felt like live music was dying off a little bit, at least from being on tour and shit in like 2018 and 2019. Like I felt like the attendance was dying down, like the more that we toured in the Midwest and stuff, because for whatever reason, people just you had to compete with online gaming. You had to compete with just so many different avenues of things for people to do. And then all of that was cut off. Like you didn't have the option of being able to go out and go to a show anymore. So I think that people craved that connection again. And I kind of wonder if like the rawness of emo plays back into that.
I also just wonder how, if that's true, which it very well might be. I don't have data on this. It would be really hard to find that. Like, is that just because it's way easier to book shows? It's way easier to find out about shows. I can't even remember how I used to find out about shows. If I was thinking about going to a show 10 years ago, I literally don't know how I would have found out about seeing, like,
There was Facebook.
Yeah, it was Facebook events, I feel.
Pre-face, like I don't know. I wasn't getting a Facebook invite to go see. Like,
that's true.
You want to know
clap
how
your
I
hands,
do?
say yeah in a different city than
There was in New York City. There was an independent newspaper called Show Paper that was. They would take over like old newspapers that didn't have anymore, and they would just break the locks and put show paper in there. It was just a one big poster on newspaper print that had like every cool show, and I used to get that like weekly and then put it on my wall and go to like half of the shows on there. There was also Todd P. Remember Todd P?
Yes.
Todd P would run a newsletter. They'd email you directly of all the cool shows that he was putting together. It was like, I think, developed into Pop Gun. I don't know. Tell me what really happened, Todd P. But yeah, there was like companies you followed. There was like Pop Gun, and there was Todd, and there was like people who would like put together cool shows that you would like get emailed newsletters about.
Now.
Yeah, that's how it was. But it was hard. You had to like really be into it, and
Right.
now you don't have. You can just like sort of follow an account,
Right.
and you have an embarrassment of shows you could go to.
If anyone has data on show attendance in America over the past 30 years, please
On DIY show attendance.
please submit your
Who's
Excel
got the ticket
sheet.
counts?
An almost unknowable number. No, but I don't know. I think you're kind of. That feels right to me, Zach. Like. I mean, at least in New York, I didn't remember like declining show numbers, but like
But there's no shortage of people out here too. Like
it feels
I
like
feel like
people
and
are going to things
Yeah.
just to go to things
Yeah.
more.
The shows are also crazier. Like hardcore shows were always crazy. Hardcore. I feel like now that people see like wild shit at shows on their phones, they're just like, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking kick someone because that looks rad, and we should all go kick people at the show." And
Kicking
it's
people.
well, and like there is like this weird thing of where I've noticed this major uptick in like kind of crowd antics at shows of where it was like
People shouting at
didn't-
Mitski.
Well, and like for me, like the big thing is crowd surfing. Like I really don't like seeing super big dudes barreling into like young people who are generally like shorter and want to get to the front of the stage. Like at like I've seen that a lot at like more like pop punkish emo type shows, like the Wonder Years type stuff. Not saying
I
necessarily
do-
saying, but,
I
like,
do
it's,
see-
like,
I've
this
seen,
weird
like-
thing of where it's like these are like big and like a lot of these dudes are like in their 30s and stuff, and it's like
It's
bro, like you're not a small guy, and like
I do feel like
you-
I've seen more videos
like, I
of
just
just like
I just don't like seeing that. Like I like here's the thing.
lines
I feel like,
of people.
I feel like you should get one person. Like you should get like if you want to crowd surf, good for you one time. But like I've seen like in the Midwest, just people going up like 4 or 5 times, like in the
Like
same
it's a water
set.
slide.
Yes,
Like they're just like
it's a
they're just like
water
waiting
slide.
in line
Oh my
to
God,
like
that's exactly what
get
I'm
their
talking
turn.
about. And like I don't know, that just doesn't sit right with me, especially because like I've seen like younger people like get like literally like an elbow or like a knee to the face, and it's like maybe they just wanted to see the band up close, and like yeah, you sign up for that or whatever if people are gonna be doing it in like a club or whatever, and that's cool, but like
It's
come on,
contextual.
man, it's not a water slide.
It's
yes.
contextual though, you know, because like I remember seeing Turnstile in Austin in like 2016, and they're playing in some like 600 cap venue. There's 50 people there, and I was just like, I just found them
Yeah.
online, like searching who's playing
This is
shows
where
in
at
Austin.
South by?
Yeah.
No, this is years
Oh.
before. And I brought a couple of my friends, and we saw this fucking crazy band with the most rabid 50 fans I've ever seen in my life. And they're jumping off of the PA, fucking each other up so so hard. This place is like, you know, there's more than 50 people there, but like it was unbelievable. I was like, these motherfuckers all signed up for this.
Yes,
that's
that's-
completely acceptable.
that's
When we were
facts.
at
Yeah.
Fest, I don't know if it was it Scowl or something, and Bryn and I were at some show in one of the indoor. There's mad people from like all different types. I like this band, I like that band. And a hardcore band comes on, and suddenly, you know, there's the 300-pound dude jumping off into some kid who was just like, I just went to see, you know, whoever. Like, I saw Carpool before this, you know, like
Shout out
Carpool
Stop.
rules.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
That's
That's
hilarious.
I think people just need to remember that they're not in their own personal music video, and like to respect people around them, and like if you're in a fighting type thing, that's
Yeah.
fine. Don't fight at shows. If you're at my show, don't punch
Yeah,
each other,
for
but
real.
like, you know, have fun. I don't care.
Punch me.
Yeah, just punch.
Well-
Only fight Johns.
And maybe there's something to be said for it's just like because what I was kind of thinking, like my theory on this is just like people who either like hadn't been to shows since they were like younger, or people who haven't been to shows before because of COVID.
Mm.
Like, type
Have
of
you ever
thing.
gone off the water slide?
Have I ever crowd surfed?
Yeah, but like
Man, I've hit the water slide a few times, but like
the
not
water
since
slide
I was,
fucking
like-
rips.
dude. Yeah, I mean, I
Have
will
you?
say,
Yeah.
When?
Oh, before my ACL and shoulder and
No,
everything
like-
else died on me.
like when I used to do it, I was like when I was like 15, 16, 17, maybe 18. Like
The
I retired like on top of my game, you know what I'm saying?
The first show I ever went
actually,
to.
let's all tell our first crowd surfing story. All right.
Well, I the first show I ever went to.
Okay, let's go.
My friend when I was in Los Angeles, she was like probably 15, and I really liked Rancid, and I was 9 years old, and she was like, "We're gonna tell your parents we're gonna go to a church show, but we're actually gonna go to this
Hell yeah.
all ages Rancid
yeah,
show
that's wild.
in West Hollywood."
That's dope.
And we went there, and people were just like, "Hey," and like people were just like picking me up and throwing me. And that was a little scary. But that was probably the only time I ever crowd surfed because I was like 9.
Hell, that's wild
I've
as
never-
fuck.
I've never-
You were 9?
Yeah, but I've never purposefully crowd surfed.
Damn, that's crazy. They were just like, oh, it's a kid. Let's throw the kid around.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild. All right, what you got?
Okay, so my high school, at least in my class, people didn't listen to guitar-based music. This was
Right.
not a thing. So my first show was like later on. But I think I went to Lollapalooza, and it was at like the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I love the Red Hot Chili
I
Peppers.
do not. I fucking
know you
can't
don't.
stand them.
They're great.
And
I guess you must hate California.
I was,
right?
yes. No.
Those are
I
the
was-
two bands I like because I'm from California. Is Sublime and Red
That is
Hot
the
Chili
most
Peppers.
California thing of you.
When you go to those festivals, if you want to be in the front, you are out in the hot sun for 7 hours. Like maybe you get to go to the bathroom once so you can walk through the entire crowd and then walk the entire crowd back. And we both hated the Chili Peppers and we need to get the fuck out of there. So we're just like, the only way we can get out of here is if we crowd surf. So, so we both got out of there. And I was just like, yo, that was lit.
I mean, honestly, though,
What
like
song?
that is like the deciding factor. All right, the first time I crowd surfed, it was like the first club show that I ever went to. So like I'd been to an arena show when I was like 14, and that one was like Blink 180. It was Taking Back Sunday, Cypress Hill, and Blink
What?
182.
Fucking go.
Hell yeah, dude.
We missed them,
That's
but
awesome.
Fall Out Boy played the parking lot too.
Oh my God.
Like, yeah, that's definitely aging me a little bit.
That's
but
awesome.
I just remember Cypress Hill had like a big old Buddha on stage, but I digress.
It wasn't for
so that was
Blink-182?
like the first like show I'd ever been to. But the second show, like the first club show, was for my 15th birthday. So like I'd gone to that show like late in the summer, and my birthday's in October. So like my older brother who was 16 could drive, took me and like my 3 like punk friends down to go see Under Oath and Coheed and Cambria. And Under Oath, we moshed. I mean, like I had never seen a metal band, like a real metal band live. And it was like when that You're Only Chasing Safety
Yeah,
album came out. Like,
that record's awesome.
yeah, you know, it was like typical metalcore shit.
I love that record.
And then like I was like such a huge fan of that Coheed and Cambria record because I was like, it's like a comic book band. It's like, you know,
These guys are geniuses.
the story makes 0 sense. 0 fucking sense. But like, so I fucking mosh, pushing, going crazy, and like it was packed because it was like a 2,000 cap venue, but it was like a club, like basically like a basement of a club, but like with tall ceilings, right? And like, so Coheed and Cambria goes on, and we get to like the 5th song, and I'm like, fuck, I think I'm gonna pass out, dude. Like, this is like, I'm just getting crushed because I'm like all of like 5'3", 4 maybe, just like. And the guy goes, do you want to go up? I was like, yeah, okay. And he was like, he nodded to his friend. They both just like fucking threw my ass up, and I was just like surfing. Thank God.
So you could breathe.
The big shaved head bouncer. Every like club has that guy who looks like
yeah.
Mr. Clean. You know, he's just like picked me up, threw me over, and he's like, "You okay, kid?" And I was like, "I'm good." He's like, "All right, walk that way. And I was like, like, but it was like, you know, it was like a religious experience.
And then you were hooked.
You know? Oh, yeah. And then I probably did it like 4 more times. That like without the overheating part, but
Right.
I mean, like, that's special though, isn't it? There's something like very beautiful about that and romantic about it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's one thing that I've noticed about like the way that local shows have been getting portrayed on social media lately, especially like with Midwest emo shit, is like how romantic it can be and like that sense of community, like where you see like it's like the local band playing a song that everybody knows the words to and
Yeah,
shit.
the
Like,
desire
I've seen more
for
of that
religious
shit lately.
connection is
and
so
that's really
deep.
inspiring.
Yeah.
That like people are going to shows being like, you get to have like a spiritual experience that isn't terrible.
Yeah, that isn't going to give you feelings of guilt and shame.
Yeah.
But elation.
Yeah. And
And,
acceptance.
and community. Isn't that what church was supposed to be all along, though?
Exactly.
Damn, we're getting philosophical here. You know?
On TikTok.
I think on that note, we can wrap this up. I don't even know how long we've been talking for. No,
I don't either.
It's at least been an hour and a half, I would say.
We got to cut this
Like,
down to 60
oh my god,
seconds.
the water slide is that's the funniest shit I've ever heard. That's the term for it.
Yeah, standing in
Out
line
to
on the
TikTok
side of the
universe,
stage
it's
with
the
like
water slide.
in your bathing suit.
I'm going to literally pay somebody to make a drawing of that for me, of where it's like the path of the water slide.
I think this is our new shtick. We're getting a slide for the stage, and you can
You know,
safely.
all right.
That's
all
a great
all right,
idea.
Before we wrap this up, I've always had this idea as a band, like that it would be so sick to have like a couple, either your merch guy or a couple friends set up a red carpet for you with like velvet barriers
I'm listening.
leading down to the center of the stage, right? And like you like then have them come out as your security before the thing and do it as the man approaches the stage, and then just sit there like with their arms crossed, and then that's part of your stage because you got the velvet rope. But then you tell them like at the end of the set, like, you shouldn't follow the rules, you know. Those ropes are in your mind. And then just like wall of death, right?
Yes.
oh, I
know?
see. It's all an
Well,
elaborate wall of
like,
death.
yeah,
setup.
it's all an allegory. We're talking about the
Sounds like
proletariat.
some weird Scott Pilgrim situation.
I don't know, but like it wouldn't be that expensive to do, and like people would
Right.
never forget that. So I'm just saying that's free for you guys. If you want.
I'm not gonna do that shit, but if y'all want it,
I'm just
now you
saying,
know what to look
if you
forward
guys
to at the
want
next
that.
Astral Planes show.
Yes. All right. Good night.
Thanks,
Bye.
Zach.
I might actually put this whole thing up because that went way funnier than I thought it would.
Listen to our album.